So the year was 2015. I think it was 2015, like the back half of 2015, maybe early 2016. And I had recently started a Pokemon trading card business. I didn't know really what to think of it. I didn't really know what was going to happen. But the main reason I started a business back then was because I wanted to stay involved in the Pokemon trading card game. I was out of the game for a while. I was out of the hobby for a while. I came back in, started playing competitively. I traveled around a little bit, but unfortunately with adulting and just life, I wasn't able to continue traveling around at the rate that you really needed to if you wanted to play at a high level when it comes to competitive play. So I was like, well, what can I do in order to stay in the hobby? And I was like, well, I do like statistics. I like business. I like Pokemon. Maybe I can find a way to basically form my own Pokemon card business, help out competitive players, things like that, and maybe I can make a couple extra $100 a month. I wasn't expecting to make a lot of money. I wasn't expecting to do anything full-time. I was just doing something in addition to my normal job that would keep me in the hobby and keep me involved in the community. So I started a business back in end of 2015, beginning of 2016. And I remember signing up for distributor accounts, resellers, permits, all that stuff, and I was looking around buying stuff from distribution, and then I started getting stuff in, looking at things, and I was like, well, I would really like to get some older stuff that doesn't necessarily isn't in format anymore, and maybe a little bit more difficult to find, and stuff that isn't carried at distributors anymore because it's gone. It's out of print, it's out of stock. So I started looking around on the internet, kind of trying to find different places that I can go to. And I looked on eBay and everything just seemed all new to me, right? It just seemed really weird. And if you've been new to Pokemon, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You didn't know what you could trust. You didn't know where you could go. And I stumbled across this website. This was PokemonTradingCards.net at the time. I think it might have changed to PokemonFlashFire.com. And this was end of 2015, beginning of 2016. And I didn't actually end up doing it. I was going to place a large order with this company, and right now it looks a little weird, right? The graphics aren't great on the website, but back in 2015, 2016, this was kind of normal. You know, you saw pixelated pictures and everything like that. Anyways, I kind of wanted to showcase this to you because it segues into our video fairly well. So if we click on Pokemon booster boxes right here, Ancient Origins was a recently released set. It looks like there was an update because Crimson Invasion is on here. Roaring Skies is on here. Primal Clash was on here, selling for about $90. However, the ones that piqued my interest more was Boundaries Crossed, Plasma Blast. They had booster boxes of Legendary Treasures. They had booster boxes of Dragons Exalted at $176. Plasma Storm at $366. So I was like, okay, these are decent prices at the time. At 2015, 2016, beginning of 2016, these were decent prices. They were okay, relatively affordable, not overpriced, not underpriced. It made me feel better about what I was purchasing. It made me feel like I was getting something legitimate. And then when I scrolled down a little bit, I saw Unleashed boxes for $250. And then I saw this Diamond and Pearl box for $229. I was like, okay, I want to place a relatively large order and see what I can go. I mean, Diamond and Pearl came out in what, 2008 or something like that? Triumphant, Unleashed, those were like 2010. Even Plasma Storm, 2012. So these sets were 5, 7, 10 years old at the time when I was looking at this, and you were still seeing boxes sell for $230. And that's really the main thing that I wanted to showcase here, is that you saw boxes. They just haven't updated any pricing for any of this stuff, but for $230. So a box of Diamond and Pearl, basically 10 years after it was printed, selling for about $230. A box of Plasma Storm, 5 years after it was printed, selling for $367. Plasma Freeze, $220, 5 years after it was printed. Emerging Powers, 6, 7 years after it was printed, selling for $180. Unleashed, 7, 8 years after it was printed, selling for $250. And then if we look at booster packs, there were others of these that I wanted to purchase as well. So if we click on booster packs here and wait for things to move extremely slowly and finally load up, there's some really cool stuff on here. But there's also, if we go to page 2, I think is where I saw it, there was old Wizards of the Coast packs as well, but also Power Keepers at $25.89. Okay, at the time I felt confident in that. $31.59 for EX Ruby Sapphire. Crystal Guardians, $12.59. If we scroll down a little bit further, you have Team Rocket, $18.59, Jungle at $25, Fossil at $25, and in 2015, 2016, these were kind of normal prices. I mean, these sets were 16, 17 years old, selling for $20 to $25 a piece. Anyways, to keep a long story short, that's already relatively long, I reached out to this company a few times, tried to get a hold of them and say, hey, I wanted to place a larger order. I just had some questions for you. Is there anything that you can do to get back to me? I want to ease my mind a little bit. They never ended up getting back to me, so I never ended up placing that order. But the reason that I wanted to showcase this and impress upon you these price points is because we have talked so many times about Pokemon as an investment. We talked about this in yesterday's video quite a bit at length, so go back and watch that video as well. But we talk about tempering your expectations and not expecting to 10x your return or 20x your return in a matter of a month or 6 months or a year or even 3-5 years, because that's really not the norm when it comes to Pokemon. And the important thing to remember is Pokemon is slowing down. It is very cyclical, but it is slowing down. So I think Sword and Shield sets in general are going to be very good long term. I think people loved Sword and Shield sets. I think people loved cracking Sword and Shield sets. But as we move into Scarlet and Violet, I think Pokemon is basically kind of recycling itself right now. And this is my opinion, so don't take any advice from me. This is just the way my mind works. I am eager to hear what your guys' thoughts are, so definitely leave a comment down below and let me know what your guys' thoughts are. However, if we rewind time and go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, when Pokemon first came out, there was a ton of product that was printed. There were multiple print runs of base set, jungle set, fossil set, Team Rocket set, because they had to meet demand, right? So there was this huge overprinting of a lot of products, and because of that, it took a long time for products to mature. You can see that right here. The case is in the, I mean, the bread and butter is right here. Like, you can see it took 15, 16 years for those pack prices to really start going up above $25, $30 a piece. Somebody commented the other day, just yesterday, about how they were researching base set booster boxes in 2015 for $3,000. Things were so much different back then before the boom, and then once the boom happened, a lot of breaks were happening, a lot of rip and ships were happening, and those base set booster boxes became less and less available, and then started skyrocketing in price because demand was there as more people came back. Adult money happened. They had the nostalgia from when they were kids, and they could afford some base set booster boxes. Not a lot of people could, but some people could, and then they would rip those open. So if we want to fast forward 20 years from now, assuming Pokemon is still relevant, what sets are people going to focus on? Well, if we look back to what we just had, the Sword and Shield era that we just had, it looks pretty good in the long run, especially the back half of the Sword and Shield. Really, once Battle Styles hit and we started introducing alternate arts, and then we have those trainer gallery cards that started appearing in Brilliant Stars, really, really cool to see a lot more hits. So if you start thinking about, okay, well, breaks might be around for a long time, rip and chips, pack breaks, things like that might be around for a long time. What's going to happen in 20 years when the kids from today grow up and they want to start opening up Pokemon cards to relive their childhood memories? And that's kind of the mindset that I think a lot of Pokemon card investors start thinking about. When I'm approaching this video, however, I want to talk to you about it from a collection standpoint. If you're somebody who likes to collect sealed product, or if you're somebody who likes to stack a booster box of every single set, Sword and Shield is basically over with. And now we are at the point where we have reached every single Sword and Shield set almost has been released a year ago. Silver Tempest is approaching its 1-year anniversary. So the likelihood of reprints happening throughout the Sword and Shield block really is starting to go down. If you remember at the beginning of Sword and Shield, all the way up to Darkness Ablaze, so Darkness Ablaze was the 3rd set, Vivid Voltage was the 4th set. After Vivid Voltage printed, there wasn't really a whole lot of reprints then from the Sun and Moon block. We didn't have a whole lot. There was a very small reprint of Unbroken Bonds. There was a very small reprint of Unified Minds, and there was a very small reprint of Ultra Prism. So as we move forward and these sets start aging, Sword and Shield, Rebel, Clash, which are now approaching 3 to 4 years old, the likelihood of these Sword and Shield sets getting reprinted starts really going downhill. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the Sword and Shield booster boxes. We talked about the Sun and Moon booster boxes yesterday and how crazy those have gone. Sword and Shield has done extremely well, except for really the back half, because we have seen reprints of those, which have brought down prices a considerable amount. So if you're somebody who's cracked open boxes, it's tough to keep a sealed collection, right? Because you want to open up product and see what's inside, and it's kind of just sitting there. It's already paid for. You don't have to invest more money into it. But if you're somebody like that who's already ripped a lot of product and you want to kind of replace it, now might be the time where you really want to start looking at these products. cards before they jump above MSRP, with the likelihood of them getting reprinted going down. I'm not going to tell you that they're not going to get reprinted, because who knows what's going to happen. Pokemon has done some weird things in the past, so they might get reprinted again. But if you're somebody who's looking at adding some Sword and Shield era booster boxes to your collection, now might be the time to start looking at them, especially as PokemonCenter.com still has 4 or 5 of them still in stock at MSRP. So we're going to start out looking at the Sword and Shield base booster box. You can see it's done extremely well over the past year. In September of 2022, it was sitting at $227.64. So it's gained about 30% now over the past year. It's sitting at $288.73 currently. So it's leveled off over the past month and a half, but really in July hit that 1-year high of $295.57. So it hasn't lost too much from that 1-year high. It's doing extremely well. If we look at Rebel Clash, also doing extremely well. It actually hit a 1-year high a couple weeks ago. In September of 22, this was sitting at 182.89. Had a very nice steep growth pattern over the next couple months. You can see from September up to December, over the span of a couple of months there, it jumped about 20%. So it jumped up to about that 215 mark, but then kind of leveled off. It actually went down a little bit in the beginning of 2023, and now it's slowly starting to climb again. It hit 220.08 at the beginning of September. Now it's sitting at 219.36. If we look at Darkness Ablaze, still moving in the upward direction, but a little bit more peaks and valleys. Still starting to trend upward. Darkness Ablaze is a very tough set. It is going to be popular in the future to some regard because it's got that Charizard VMAX in it, so I do think people are going to want to pull it. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot in Darkness Ablaze that gets people very excited. The cards are extremely cheap. That Charizard VMAX, the only card that really has any value associated with it, and even that is very, very small. So you start talking about opening up booster boxes to get that expected value in return, which will never happen, but you really want to associate a fun cost with it. So how much would it cost? How much should you expect to lose when you open up a booster box? And we call that fun cost. With Darkness Ablaze, that fun cost goes way, way up. So you really got to enjoy opening a set like Darkness Ablaze, because unless you pull that Charizard, and even if you pull that Charizard, you're still looking at losing about $120 opening a box of Darkness Ablaze when it comes to value. But in September of 2022, this was well below MSRP, sitting at $126.48. Lots of ups and downs. Like you can see, it did hit a 1-year high in April of 2023 when it hit that $155.53. It backed off quickly, dropped back down below 135, and now it started to rise again. So it's sitting at 153.86 currently, close to its 1-year high, but definitely trending in the upward direction. Same thing with Vivid Voltage, been a lot of ups and downs. I do think there's a lot of people kind of holding on to some of this product because we did get those massive reprints of Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, Evolving Skies, Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike, that all came out at the same time and crashed booster boxes down to about $90-$95 a piece. But in November of 2022, this one in specific hit a 1-year low of $122.67. Again, lots of peaks and valleys. In April of 2023, hit that 1-year high of $142.24, which is basically MSRP, and then backed off a little bit. You can see in July it was down to about $130. It's gained that back, so it's sitting at $139.27 currently, so still just below MSRP. Not available on Pokemon Center's website, so if you don't have a sealed box of Vivid Voltage, that might be one that you want to look to add to your collection before it starts jumping above MSRP. Battle Style saw some big growth in December, January, started getting pumped a little bit, started getting pushed a little bit, but outside of the Tyranitar and the Empoleon, Battle Styles doesn't do it for a lot of people. There's not a ton of competitive cards. There's some fairly good cards, but a lot of cards not as good as what they used to be in the format. In December of 2022, this was sitting at $85.46. So remember, MSRP was a little bit cheaper. That was still just barely better than wholesale for a lot of people. Once you factor in tax, shipping, things like that, definitely selling at a loss, but started rising after December of 2022. You can see it jumped all the way up to about 105, 107 in February. It started going up a little bit higher, hit that 1-year high in March of 115.10, and then backed off a little bit. It's sitting at 111.61, but over the past 5-6 months, it's been relatively level, but less and less available. As you can see, PokemonCenter.com does not have Battle Styles in stock anymore. So as that supply starts drying up, that's going to start going up more and more. Chilling Reign, obviously we've talked about this at length in the past. This one got pumped up like crazy, and it has still been rising a little bit, albeit much, much slower than what it was in October of 2022. This was at a 1-year low of $91.35. So we're talking about these booster boxes that dropped well below $100, then started to rise fairly rapidly as it sold out on Pokemon Center's website, became a little bit less available, got pumped up by a lot of content creators, jumped up in February of 2023, close to that $150 mark, and then backed off a little bit. But it has been slowly climbing more and more over the past couple months, so it's gained a few dollars back. It's sitting at $152.72 currently, which is just off of its 1-year high of $152.95. Evolving Skies, we don't need to spend too much time about this because this is like the complete difference of every single set ever printed by Pokemon. September of 2022, this was sitting at 202.17. It's over doubled in price over the past year, sitting at 442.62 currently, which is just off of its 1 year high of 448.03. We'll probably see this hit $500 this year yet. Absolutely crazy what Evolving Skies has done. If we move on to Fusion Strike, another set that got pumped up quite a bit in December of 2022. You can see it at its 1 year low in November at $96.98, but then a very steep incline after that. For a few months, it jumped up. It actually hit 149.30 as a 1 year high in July of 2023. It did back off a little bit, sitting at 146.32. However, should not be selling at 146.32. This is one of those boxes that is still available on Pokemon Center's website. You can buy it for that old MSRP price of about $143, so you can get it on PokemonCenter.com for a few dollars cheaper. Brilliant Stars, one of those sets that got impacted heavily by a reprint, really destroyed the pricing quite a bit. This set is also available still on Pokemon Center's website, PokemonCenter.com. $150.38 is the current market price, so don't pay that because you can find it cheaper just on Pokemon Center's website. But you can see this one climbed and climbed and climbed until January of 2023, where we're sitting at that 1 year high of 184.18. I don't know if this one ever went out of stock on Pokemon Center's website. If it did, it was very, very short period of time. It dropped all the way down in May of 2023 after we saw that reprint to 138.28, so it did go below MSRP. It's climbed back a little bit, sitting at 150.38 currently. Astral Radiance, this one has been going up higher and higher as we it nears the MSRP pricing. You can see in September, October, November, even December, hovering right around that 1 year low of $100.15. And then when December hit, it started a very, very sharp incline. We saw that with a lot of sets. We saw that with pretty much every Sword and Shield era set. Jumped up in February of 2023, hit about $130 before backing off over the next 4 months or so, dropped down to about $120 and then started climbing again. It's sitting at a 1 year high at 138.80 currently. Lost Origin, a set that did get reprinted that destroyed the pricing quite a bit. In September of 2022, this was selling for below $100 at $98.53. Saw some huge gains all the way up until May, where it passed 169, hitting 169.17. This one also still available on Pokemon Center's website, but you can find it cheaper elsewhere. As you can tell, dropped all the way down to 130.81 currently and continuing to trend downward. Lost Origin had a fairly decent sized reprint that has hurt the pricing on it quite a bit. If we look at Silver Tempest, I believe this is the last set that we're going to look at because this is the last main series set release in Sword and Shield in December of 2022. So not too long after the set came out, it did bottom out at $100.55. We do know that this set was printed a little bit less than all the other sets. However, it did find a fairly large reprint to go alongside that Lost Origin reprint, the Scarlet and Violet base reprint that we saw a few months ago, and that's where you see the price drop in here. In June of 2023, it did jump up to about 146.38. That was a 1 year high for this before backing off after getting reprinted, sitting at 125.10 currently. So I wanted to go over this, but also shed some light on expectations. I don't want people to think that they can just buy booster boxes right now and then over the next couple years they're going to 10x in price. I know that there's a lot of attention that gets paid to Pokemon card investing and things like that, but ultimately the best thing that you can do is just enjoy the hobby. If you enjoy your sealed collection and you call it an investment, that's totally fine. I do think that it's going to mature over the years, especially sealed, because sealed consistently rises. However, it might not rise at the pace that you might expect it to based off of what you saw during the pandemic, which I think is a time period that should just get thrown out the window when it comes to the Pokemon market. It made a ton of impact. A lot of price corrections happened, but now things are starting to get back to normal as we look at Scarlet and Violet, we look at Paldea Evolve, we look at Obsidian Flames, those boxes all selling for sub $100 pricing, even with wholesale pricing going up, those boxes selling at a loss. So it'll be very interesting to see how those perform moving forward, but I think Sword and Shield sets are going to do extremely well in the long run because of so many people being involved, so many packs getting cracked, and I don't even know if Pokemon could have reprinted enough product based off of these prices to keep up with it. So that's my 2 cents, but you can let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button, share the video, leave a like and a comment. It just goes very, very far for the algorithm, helps spread the channel out there so it gets in front of more people so they can tell me to get a haircut. Thank you guys so much for everything. I'll be back tomorrow with a live break. Until then, peace!